So today's topic, I really want to talk about copyright law. I really want to talk about why it's important to register your copyrights and, also kind of debunking some myths out there as well. Because in the World Wide Web, everything seems like public and it's not. And so let's talk about it. Let's dive into it right now. I'm going to also be covering some myths that we are constantly hearing and that are not true. So please be careful of falling prey to them, because honestly, the last thing you want is somebody smacking you with a lawsuit or even just harassing you because they feel violated. So let's get going. So first of all, what is copyright? Copyright is protecting an original work of authorship that has been placed into a tangible medium. And so I always say that you have an inherent right in copyright and in trademark. And so what that means is that there is a baseline protection that the government provides you through common law. And that common law just means that it's like default law, essentially, sometimes. And so basically what happens is then you have a baseline protection for copyright. And so any works that you are creating, such as you're taking photographs, you're creating a video, like the video I'm creating today for you all, or a book, or if you're writing courses, or if you're selling those courses, anything that you are creating, whether it's a blog post, a website, all of these things are protected by copyright. And so what you want to do is you want to protect your right in the copyright that you have. And so the first way is that, of course, you have an inherent protection through common law, meaning if somebody does want to infringe your rights, like they are copycats, or they're taking something and just using it for themselves, or selling it, copying it, making money off of it, distributing it, displaying it, all of those things are protected. And you have the right to say, take it down because it's mine. And that's there. You can definitely impose that right. But what happens is that you can't take them to court unless you are registered. And that is huge. So you need to register your copyright in order to take anyone to court and sue them for copyright infringement. Yes, you heard that correctly. You cannot sue them in court unless you have filed for your copyright registration. And once that has happened and you have a federally registered copyright, you can then sue somebody in court and now boost your protection from common law to also statutory protection, where now you might be entitled to certain statutory fines and also attorney fees. Yes. So I always urge my clients who are making money off of certain things that they have created, whether it's an e-course, an e-book, or whether it's photographs that they're using, copyright them, protect them. Because if you don't, then there's only so much you can do if your copyright is infringed at that point. Now we know why we need to protect it. And now let's talk a little bit about the myths that are out there as well. So copyright myths that generally people think all the time is, well, it was on Google, it was on Pinterest, it was on Facebook, it was on this, it was on that. It's public forum, therefore I can use it. But the reality is that those are not public forums. There's a lot of public using those platforms that are privately owned by a company, but they are not public use and therefore do not fall under fair use either. And so you really need to get permission to use that photograph or to use that blog post or to use anything that is not yours, essentially. And it's better to err on the side of caution and actually get permission. When you think that I really want to use this, get permission. I know there are stock images that people love to use for their blog post or for their Instagram or some other types of accounts. Stock images are great. Just make sure that if you're using a free site, that you're following the rules of usage. And if you are purchasing it from somewhere, that the license allows you to use it in the way you want to use that picture. Otherwise, you could be infringing on someone's rights. So be careful when you are purchasing stock images. They may not be an ownership purchase, but maybe a license purchase. And you need to adhere to that license that's out there as well. So again, public access does not mean public domain. It does not mean fair use. It does not mean any of that. You need to get permission. Myth number 2, the poor man's copyright. This is a legal fun way of saying it, but essentially sometimes people don't want to register because it costs money, which honestly it is nominal fees for the long-term protection that you're providing your work product. But it is not okay to send yourself a copy in the email or get it notarized to show possession. I mean, it can show possession, but it doesn't show authorship per se. And so a lot of times you feel like, oh, I can just send myself a copy and they'll just show I created it. No, it just shows possession maybe, but it really has no other legal ramification. So to really protect that work product that you're creating, you need to register it with the Copyright Office. Myth number 3, registration isn't necessary. This is true because you don't have to register to get the baseline protection. But then if you don't register and you are not in the copyright database, you will not be entitled to any type of statutory protection. And again, so you have baseline protection from common law, which is amazing, it's great. We're not first to file, but it's more as first to create. But at the same time, with not registering, what happens is that you are not entitled to any more statutory protection. You don't have any. So when you file it, you boost your protection to the next level, and now you are entitled for statutory protection. So you can get legal fees out of it. You can also maybe get some statutory fines from the other side as well for infringement. And so it's really important to actually register your work in the Copyright Office. So it's very important to register your copyright. Why? Number one thing is that you are now entitled to invoke your rights in it on a statutory level. And so you need to register your work within the first 3 months of publication, ideally. Because if you do that, then you'll be entitled to bigger amount of statutory damages than you would be if you did it later on. And so the beauty is that the quicker you register it, the more damages you are entitled to, because it shows that you are the owner for that much longer. And unfortunately, if you don't register it, you're limited in the number of damages you might be able to get, if any, at all. Ultimately, you want to register your copyright as soon as you are publishing that work product. So whether it's prior to or right after you published it, do it as soon as you can in order to get the most amounts of damages that if somebody were to infringe your rights. It's very important to do that. And so number 4 myth, the 30 seconds, 500 copies, 2/3, 200 words rule. You might have heard all these different numbers, if not those, that if you just do this much, then it's not a copyright infringement. Or if you just do this much, it's not a copyright infringement. Or if you just take a little piece of paper, or if it's not very visible, absolutely not. None of that is true because it varies. Different courts have said different things, and some courts have held that even less than 300 words was an infringement on someone's copyright. And so you cannot go by any specific rule. There's no rule out there. The best thing to do is err on the side of caution, and that is to get permission. Get a license to use it if you need to. Get some form of permission or full-on ownership assignment of that copyright if there's something that you want to use. And again, if there is somebody that is infringing on your copyright, then best thing to do is hopefully you have a registration. But if you don't, of course, send them a mail, send them an email, send them a demand letter to shut it down, because it is yours. It is yours technically. So shut that down. But what you really want to do is actually get that copyright registered.